Okay, tonight we're going to run a video on Hall-Scott industrial engines. I was going through the study and found a whole bunch of stuff I forgot I had. In the advertisements for Hall-Scott marine engines, they had this oval with a bird on it, which is very nice. And I was familiar with seeing that in old marine engine sales literature. But what I found is a bunch of industrial engines literature. Now, they have a different kind of round seal on them in their ads. And it shows an oil derrick, a tank, and a bunch of sawtooth buildings, which is a good symbol for what they did. This bunch of ads is right around 1944, 1945. Some of them just say ACF, Hall-Scott, others, and it also says the Hall-Scott Motor Car Company, which is what it was till around 1948. But ACF sold everything to Consolidated Vultee Aircraft in 1945, and then ACF didn't own Hall-Scott anymore, and ACF didn't own Brill or J.G. Brill. So they made a new company called ACF Brill. And here's what I found. Now this one here is about the Model 357. And keep in mind, with these engines, and it has a bunch of literature about what it does, how much power it had, lubrication, cylinder head, crankshaft, ignition, connecting bearings, rocker arms, pistons, drive shaft, manifold, governor. And they were monstrous engines if you were going to do an oil well, some kind of industrial purpose. It didn't go anywhere. It was a stationary engine. You'll notice this particular one here says ACF Hall-Scott on it, and it is a monster. And they would have, you'll see in other pictures, lines of these all lined up to in a great big shop. And this is their 357. And then down here, the different angle on the whole thing. Came with a radiator. Inside, they have more pictures of them. And they were, beasts of engines. A lot of times, if it's stationary, of course, you have to have a radiator with it. And when you're building a truck engine or a bus engine or even a boat engine, they're worried about weight. Here, they just build it to be powerful. And down here is this is the 357. Yeah, that's what we're talking about. Yeah, 357. And it says ACF Hall-Scott on the side. But these were brutes. And here's a drawing of the whole thing. Looks like this. You can see it better here. And on the back, they always have these charts to show power against RPMs, I think is what they're doing there, and the torque. And different types of fuels against natural butane, natural gas. But it's interesting stuff that they would have. People who were in the market for something like this would know what this will do. And this particular drawing here was 1946. And it was right after the company changed hands, so they stayed with the original ACF All-Scott on the stuff, or it might have been installed. They just used it for the ad. Now here we have another engine. This is the 400, and you've heard of these 400s often being used in trucks. And they talk about why you should buy this. Mostly about the construction, workmanship. And here's your 400. And it is a big, big engine. Stationary. And they talk about what its different features are going down through. And here we have one here. Oil absorption plant, Bakersfield, California, which is an oil center. And it has 2,500 GPM at 1,050 RPMs. And it's hooked up to some kind of a device. But this would do the job. They were not cheap, but they were well made. These oil guys had plenty of dough to spend. That's what they wanted. They wanted performance. Here you can see a whole line of these things pumping away. Texas oil plant. And up here, another shot. Of the engine with nothing around. Another shot of the engine with nothing around, display engine. Here they are at work. Centrifugal pumps, Springs recycling plant in Texas. Just a whole bunch of these things doing their job year after year. This guy here has got a drilling rig powered by a Hall-Scott 400. They're lightweight, and so you can do portable work. I guess you could put this in the back of a truck and move it around. And here's another view of it. This again looks like a picture that would be without anything else around. This is like in the factory, just a display picture. And here's another one. It weighs 3,600 pounds. And this one's a butane unit. Natural gas carburetor installation with dual air cleaners. Small panel board on it. But it's industrial type. Here's another picture. Power when you want it, as you want it, and always dependable. Texas companies. Another, they're in Louisiana. This is located in Louisiana. And 400 installed by Kenworth in their large truck, which furnishes required power necessary to operate the Frank's collapsible oil well. Okay, all right. So this is bolted onto the truck, and and they raise it up. And I guess this is an oil derrick that you might want to drill some holes and get moving somewhere else. But very interesting. And again, more charts, what the thing will do, and all the different, this is 1944, this particular, and there's something to do with fire, putting fires out. Another one here. Now that one we just looked was a 470, this is a 480. So there were different models in that category, I guess. And again, the higher your RPMs, the more power you get. Another shot, this is the 400 here. Comparing different kinds of fuels. I think this means they're running fire pumps. Or they might even put in a fire engine, I guess, depending upon what you need. And here's a cutaway shot of the whole thing, so somebody could see what it was. The chains and the gears and stuff that it has. And partial cutaway, different parts in it. Very interesting. And a drawing of the diagram of it. And then more drawing of the engine, radiator. Over here, an end view drawing. And their selling points are fatigue resistance, long life, low upkeep, power and torque unequaled in this type of engine. Another black and white drawing. And a lot of these ads would have the picture of the plant in the back. I made a video about that one time. Some of the buildings are still there, some of them added to them. The parking lots are all sold off and they have buildings on them. And they talk about their motor, coach, and truck service, railway motor car service, fire engine equipment, industrial service, and marine service. Now, we know about the big V12 they made, and that was part of the marine engine business. The Defender. But I didn't realize it. Looking at this book, they talk about their Hall Scott Defender V12 and talk about the different specifications it has and what it all is good. And here it is here, ready for industrial service. You stick a V12 on something, it's going to go. That's a lot of power. And here's a diagram of it. An extension of the diagram showing you what all it is. I forget the cubes on that, but it's enormous. weighs 6,800 pounds. And more info on what it'll do, RPMs, $19.44. This was in a lot of PT boats, but they were expanding it here, and here's all their, what it has, what it'll do. But it is a beast. And more of the charts they always have in these types of things. Black and white diagram. Another of the same. More charts. Another shot of the factory. And there's also a section here that was in with this stuff. It's the talking about the Hall-Scott horizontal engine. The one we have is a 477. They had a 180 and 190. This just shows where it's located in the middle of the bus. Low center of gravity, stability, utilizes the space under the vehicle. Not so many joints. And talking business, at the time this was written, they were making 95s, 130 and 135. But this was right after World War II, I think, about 1946. And again, the valve cover says ACF Hall-Scott, which is very typical of the time. But these are the specifications for it. Horsepower, 101, 117, 140, and the other stuff in here about it. And the cubes, 377 for a 95, 425 for the 130, and the 135 has 477, and that's what became my 477. That right there, yeah, later on. And the bearings, connecting rods, crankshaft, the whole thing down through here. Anyway, I came across this stuff and I thought it was interesting, so I hope everybody had a good time with it. There's this rare information.